last couple of days, we've been talking about like the shifting narratives about the 49ers, particularly nationally, whether or not Kyle Shanahan started a war with these guys or if they were just protecting him in the past and feel no need to anymore. Anyway, it seems like today there's a report from NFL.com about him. A couple of days ago, there was one from CBS, and NBC just can't stop. So we'll go through it one by one and talk about the significance, starting with NFL.com, which really is the official news-breaking organization of the 49ers. They are more plugged into the Niners organization than anyone else by far. And today, there was a report. It's great how they do it. They buried it at the bottom, Jack. There was like 6 points on things to look for the Niners. Nick Bosa's return, George Kittle, the very bottom. Let me just read it real quick, and then I want to get your reaction. I talk about burying the lead. Okay, after being hit by a tsunami of injuries in 2020, expectations are again high for the 2019 NFC champs. The pressure to win is even higher. Shanahan now has had 4 years to fashion the roster to his liking, including mortgaging the future for Lance only 3 years after making Jimmy G the highest paid player in football. Missing the playoffs a fourth time in 5 years could put Shanahan on the hot seat in 2022. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's everything that they wrote right there is correct. It's something that I think that we've hit on at times, throughout this off season, and everything that the 49ers are doing and the way that they've approached this is all showing. It seems like they've got to win now. There's something that's going on that's pushing them to make some moves that are a little bit out of character. I understand the Garoppolo piece, but they've been looking to move from him all off season. So I definitely think there is something to this. I think there's some stuff going on between Shanahan and the front office that if they don't win this year, you're looking at now that'd be 5 out of 6 years, and I don't see how you can't put them on the hot seat if that happens.
Yeah, right. It's kind of a natural. I feel like there's been a lot of erratic behavior from both sides. Kyle Shanahan, Jed York, this offseason that it's been hard to explain. Why is Jed tweeting like this? Why is Kyle talking like this? What is going on? Wouldn't a lot of it be explained by a January meeting between Jed and Kyle where Jed said, hey, Kyle, you have to win this year. I just want you to know. Yeah. You have to win this year. No more excuses. Year 5. Wouldn't that explain a lot?
It definitely would. It would explain some, again, this is Jed York is out there. He's putting himself out there again because if you remember, even when the 49ers weren't good, he kept putting himself out there about how good they were going to be. Even back in the days of Tom Sula and that whole crew, and I think it was actually Singletary, and it's continuing on now. The Yorks struggle with keeping head coaches for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Shanahan's been here for 4 years. He's had one winning season.
He's their longest tenured coach ever.
Yes, this will begin the longest tenure. Yes, and he's only had one winning seasons out of that. So everything kind of points to there's some need, some pressure from above to get some W's on the board this year that haven't been happening the last few years, other than 2019.
The only thing I would wonder is they say he'd be on the hot seat if he misses the playoffs. Well, yeah, duh, I would think so. I mean, the only question is, would Jed fire him? I mean, probably not. They just gave him an extension, but this is Jed York we're talking about here, and the idea that he's changed a lot, he's had an awakening, he is more patient. I don't know how much people in their 40s really changed. Jack, you know more about that than me. I'm just saying, at a certain point, you are who you are, and it seems like Jed and his parents are pretty impatient. And if you got one winning season in 4 years, I don't know what that family will do. I don't think Kyle knows either.
Yeah, no, I think that he definitely has that pressure there, and the Yorks have shown that they're impatient. I mean, look at their history. They fired the first coach that they had. They fired him, despite going into the playoffs and winning a playoff game and getting into the second round with Mariucci. They fired, then they went through a bunch of bad coaches,
Mariucci, right? And then got rid of him within a few years. As soon as it went.
Yeah.
I mean, after a playoff season, they got rid of him.
Correct. That was the season that they lost to Tampa Bay in the playoffs, and they had beaten the Giants. Yeah, they've beaten the Giants in the comeback the week before. There's a whole bunch of that I think we're going to get into a little bit further on down the line with regards to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think they're in win now mode, and if they don't, I can see Shanahan getting put on the hot seat. I don't think they're going to fire him after this year. I think if they make any moves in the front office, it's going to be with at the general manager level. And then they'll give Kyle one more year. I think they're going to do a little bit differently than they did back in 2014.
Also, Kyle Shanahan actually has said on the record this year that if anything were to happen, the Niners get a good deal, they should trade him. Remember he said that? No one's off limits. Hey, if they get a good deal from me, what Shanahan defenders or proponents often say is, hey, you get rid of Kyle, 25 teams lining up for his services. Okay, and if that's the case, then trade him. If it comes to that. If that's the case, then trade him. And he already said it. I wonder if something that Ted already said to him. Just know, Kyle, I would trade you. I will. I know you're worth something. We need some first round. Hey, I just figured out how the Niners can get some first round picks back, Jack.
Yeah, that's how they get back their picks. The picks that they just gave up for Trey Lance, right? They trade Kyle Shanahan, get a couple first round picks. They get all that back, and they're rebuilding again with the next new up and comer.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like Jed says, you better win now. Kyle says, okay, you better give me a new quarterback. Jed said, okay, you can trade up in the draft. You can use these picks. And if it doesn't work out, I'll use you to get the picks back. Deal. Fine. That's fair. That's fair. You can start over somewhere else, and we can start over here with the picks that you bring back with DeMeco Ryans and Mike McDaniel or Eric Bieniemy or whoever. Seems like a fair trade. I think the Niners are protected. Kyle Shanahan can always start over somewhere else. It seems like it's about time the stakes have been raised on Kyle. I like Kyle, but this is the big leagues, baby, and you have to win now. I think clearly Bill Walsh had the same start, three losing seasons in 4 years, but then he never lost again. So let's go.
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly it. And he's, up to this point, Shanahan's been living off the everything that he did prior. He's really lived off that 2016 season with Atlanta.
Yes.
That's where everybody has this whole narrative of him. You and I have talked about this so much about his past and how it's not as great, I think, as some people want to point to. So
yeah,
I think it's definitely win now, and that what you just had there as far as up on the screen a minute ago that you took off there. I think the fans are starting to possibly realize that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Shanahan's history, it's long, and there are some big highs, but they're inconsistent. It's like every 3 or 4 years he has a very good offense, but they can't keep it going. You could say he hasn't had a quarterback. Well, he's got one now. He's got to make it work.
Yeah, you can say he didn't have a quarterback, but look at what they did and pulled off in Pittsburgh in 2019 when they didn't have a quarterback. They were 8-8. They were in the playoff race until the end of the season. They never imploded the way that this team has imploded every season, with the exception of 2019.
And to that previous person's point, once the fans stop pushing back against criticism, the criticism multiplies. You know what I mean? If people feel like fans want to read that, then it's an avalanche. And it seems like the thought that fans feeling that Kyle Shanahan was this close to taking Mac Jones has really shaken a lot of fans' confidence in him. And I think that's what Shanahan was so upset about at that press conference. Like, man, people really don't believe in me the way they used to. All about this, and people are coming up to me in a safe way and telling me, "Don't do it, Kyle." Yeah, people look at him differently now, man. They really do.
And that whole thing's just so crazy too on that. But we've talked about the whole Mac Jones thing so much, but even just the whole way that whole narrative and everything, that was really wild, real wild.
It is
this offseason.
But it's just real quick. I mean, it's wild to think that so much of Shanahan's reputation is still based on 2016. Like, that was 5 years ago. Name me another coach who has gotten more out of one season. 5 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl and gotten fired in that time period.
Oh yeah, and you hear people talk all the time. Oh, if they just execute. At some point, it's the coach's job to get their team to execute. Every coach that's ever been fired could say the same thing. I had a great plan. My team just didn't execute. And you can do that with every coach that's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, that's the excuse when you get fired. They didn't execute. Absolutely. Anyway, Double B Studio says we have the firepower. The 49ers need to have a plan if they don't already and execute. By the end of the year, we will have questions answered. Yeah, Niner fans are real skeptical. If this is, I'm telling you, people, it's how I felt about Jimmy last year. I thought Niner fans would be skeptical of Jimmy after the Super Bowl, and they had his back, but after one bad week one, it was over. And I feel like Niner fans are right there with Kyle Shanahan. They're still supporting him, but if he loses to Detroit week one, oh my God, the stuff people are not me, the stuff fans are, they're gonna go on my Twitter during the game and say, Grant, please, after the game, go crazy. You already know. Kyle, don't test it. Jed is very emotional, these fans are very emotional, and support that you've enjoyed for 4 years could go in September. Don't
especially against Dan Campbell and everything that's, all the kind of the jokes and everything about his press conferences. If they lose to Detroit in week one, that would be just a tsunami, as they said right there. Forget the tsunami of injuries. That's just going to be a tsunami of people getting frustration with that loss if that's what happens.
Anyway, high stakes. I love it. Kyle Shanahan, you should love it too. You should be able to. This should bring the best out of him. Because the last time I thought 2019 was a win now year for him. It's a win now year for any coach who started his career with 2 losing seasons, and it definitely brought the best out of him. So let's see it, Kyle.